Hey gang, Leonard Pig here. I wanted to share a story with you about one of my favorite writers, one of the people that inspired me to go into writing, um, and that's Dwayne McDuffie. He was a phenomenal writer that did stuff for Marvel. He created Damage Control. He had written almost every character in Marvel at one point or another. I remember him relaunching Deathlock, which was actually what first turned me on to his work. In the initial series, I believe it was him and Jackson Guise doing the artwork, and it was a phenomenal artwork, phenomenal story. It was a limited series, and it did well enough that it spun off into an ongoing, and they paired him up then with Dennis Cowan, who's also just a phenomenal artist. So you had a really great way to kind of, or at least for me, to dive into the comic industry as far as being at the age that I understood that there were writers and artists and editors behind all this. When you're a little kid and you're just grabbing comics off the rack, you don't really know that Steve Englehart wrote it. I mean, even though it's there in the credits, you're not paying that much attention, or you don't know that, or you might, oh, Chris Claremont wrote this X-Men issue, or whomever. Um, but yeah, that was one of the books that really, that Deathlock series really kind of cemented my curiosity and my fascination with the comic book industry even more so. And having read Damage Control, which I thought was also amazing because here it was, you had a company that specialized in dealing with the aftermath of superhero battles. It's like who cleans up the building as the rubble's been knocked down, who takes the decommissioned robot and stores it somewhere safely. So one of the things I wanted to talk about in this video is how Dwayne McDuffie actually saved my bacon once. He used to have a website. It was a forum. I think it was DwayneMcDuffie.net, and it was message boards. There was chats. There were people from the industry there, other fans of his, other would-be creatives, aspiring creatives like myself. Um, and one of the cool things he did, he had copies of some of the pitches that he had sent to the companies. Some of the stuff he'd pitched, books that he pitched to like Marvel, DC, etc. I mean, he did stuff for Marvel, DC, Valiant. Um, I mean, he was all over the place, and he was good. I mean, he was legitimately good. You could read two or three different books that he did, different titles, and see that he was consistent. He was a solid writer, hands down. And basically, I emailed him at one point, and I said, "Hey, I I've been submitting stuff to Marvel. This is before they got bought out by Disney and they had an open submission policy. So you could just go on to Marvel.com, print up a PDF, had like a picture of Eric Larson Spider-Man on it in the background, sign off on it, send your script or a letter of intent, and cross your fingers and hope for the best. Well, I'd done that a few times, and I had a few rejection letters, most of which were autographed by Joe Quesada, which was cool. Um, but anyway, I just wanted to kind of get that inside track and see what else I could do, or what kind of way I could modify my scripts and things. And so he suggested some of the script formats that he had on his web page. He gave me some solid advice, and I said, "Oh, that's absolutely great, cool, thank you so much." Because I can't tell you how many times I had emailed different people in the industry, and I'm not going to name drop anybody, but a lot of those guys don't reply back to emails. They just don't. They're not obligated to. But it's one of those things, you kind of keep that in the back of your brain. You're like, man, I really dug this guy or this gal's art, or art, not say artwork, writing, because that was kind of my thing. I'm still a writer, to be honest. Um, but anyway, Dwayne helped pull my fat out of the fire, as it were, because I got in a situation where a friend of a friend knew a guy who was supposedly an artist for Marvel. So I said, well, hey, one of my friends, because I guess he saw this guy reading one of the scripts I'd written, and he says, "Well, I didn't know Lenny was a writer." He goes, "Yeah, he's been writing. He's trying to get him in Marvel." He goes, "Oh man, I can hook him up. I can hook him up." Okay, great. So he put me in touch with the guy, and the guy tells me, he goes, "Give me some of your scripts. I said, what about submission form? You need me to fill those out? He goes, don't even worry about that. Just give me your scripts. I'm going to pass them along to my friend who's an editor at Marvel. His name's Mark Jacobs, and he's going to be restarting the Epic line later this year. I'm like, oh, holy smokes, that's wild. Epic, because I hadn't really seen Epic stuff since like the 80s. And it was kind of akin to what DC did with Vertigo, you know. Now, granted, this was in, I want to say 2009 maybe. And so I thought, this seems pretty cool, but a little bit too good to be true. So I emailed Dwayne McDuffie and I asked him, I said, hey, you know, this guy reached out to me, wants to see some of my scripts. He wants me to hand them off to him so we can hand them off to his editor. And, you know, is this legit? Should I even entertain this? And he looked, I guess he said he'd get back in touch with me and let me know. And he emailed me back like the next day, thank goodness, and said, just so you know, Marvel has no plans to restart the Epic line. That's not on the table. Nor is there a editor there by the name of Mark Jacobs. So this guy's just trying to hoodwink you. So I would advise against it. Cool. Thank you, Maestro. So I thanked him and kind of went on my way. And this guy reached out to me again and was like, so you're going to send me some scripts? I said, no, I'm not. And he was like, why not? I said, why are you lying to me? He goes, what are you talking about? I'm not lying to you. My friend Mark, he's, you know, Mark's with Epic. I said, well, according to Dwayne McDuffie, he's not. So that's that. Anyway, suffice to say, since then, I've written a few more things. And of course, um, I never got on. But I also didn't get ripped off by this guy and his machinations. So at least there's that. And I can say that I owe that to the late, great Dwayne McDuffie. So long live the maestro. Cheers.